3, 2, 1.
Welcome to our latest exhibition here at the Peoria Art Guild. We have Andre Petty, the artist, and this is Kroh-Mat-ik. And tell us why you chose that phrase for your title.
Well, it was a hard and tough search. I'm not really good at naming things, and I had my best partner in life, my wife, kind of like helped me along the way. She vetoed a lot of my other choices, and we came upon Kroh-Mat-ik, and we just thought with the use of color, you know, sort of by the definition, just it kind of fit.
Yep.
And I thought it was a nice choice, and it didn't seem too contrived.
Well,
so.
what we're going to be looking at are very, 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 very colorful paintings, mostly of individuals that some of us know, some of us have to have a clue or two before we recognize them. That's always one of the fun things when people come into the gallery, because sometimes they're really, even this first one, they're scratching their head, I should know that
Yes.
person. But you have bold, expressive technique to rendering portraits of people. And where do you get your inspiration for determining which individual, which popular figure you're going to?
That's a good question, because there's so many people out there, and you know, that I'm dying to paint, that I want to paint, not just celebrities, but just like everyday people, you know. And so when I first started doing it, it started with my son, and then it kind of evolved into people that I liked or respected, or like a favorite movie.
Yep.
You know, there really, right now, there's no, at the beginning there was no rhyme or reason. Now it's kind of formulating a little better.
And this portrait, if you're looking at it carefully, thinking, who is this? Think of a young actor, like a young Harrison Ford, because a lot of people sit there, they're like, but what I do like is that you use the color it abstracts the face, really, but at the same time, it's like Toulouse-Lautrec. It's going to give it an expression of just happiness and joy. I mean, you walk into this gallery, and it is very uplifting because of the color, the palette.
Thank you, thank you. I've always been kind of an animated person since I was a small child, and now I'm just a little bit bigger of a child. And so the colors have always been, I've always liked every color of the rainbow, and it just, one day it just kind of clicked, and you know, seeing a lot of other people and their work, and it just, it always seemed to kind of touch me in a way.
Now, your other job, besides painting, is being a fireman.
Yes, sir.
And that your schedule probably lends itself that you can spend a lot of time in the studio if you have it.
Yeah,
And
most definitely. I'm very blessed to have a job where it gives me days off just on the normal construct of my job. I work 24 hours on, I have 48 hours off. So if I take my son to school, you know, during the school year, and my wife goes to work, I'm at home. I have
in your studio.
A lot of
what
time.
A great arrangement to have.
It works.
This is Hello Dolly. So for those who are trying to figure out, it is a young Dolly Parton, very happy and very much Dolly. The wigs.
Most definitely. But there was more hair in this picture than I even realized when I first started doing it, and I was just like, wow, her face is going to take up a lot, but her hair is going to be everything else, basically.
And it really does. Now, here we have just eyes, and we'll see whose eyes are these?
Eminem.
Eminem's eyes. So here we have Eminem staring at us all throughout this month as we walk into the gallery, but they're wonderfully done. And how do you determine, and how do you start like a painting like this?
So basically, for me, myself, I kind of stare at the picture for a while and try to, sometimes it's hit or miss. I just basically throw down colors of paint on the canvas, trying to mix them all together in a, not even mixing them, but just whatever seems to fit. And then when I feel right about that, then I let it dry. I lightly sketch over it, and then I start
And you start to bring out the whatever features you need to. In this case, just the eyes and those wonderful deep furrow
Yes,
brows.
sir.
Yes. And introduce us to this fine lady.
This would be Sade. Her album cover, I believe it was, it may have been Sade's Greatest Hits or No Ordinary Love. I think it was No Ordinary Love was the album. Correct me if I'm wrong. I've been a fan of hers since 1984, 85, and I listen to her music today. She's just one of those people that I've just always been fond of, and I'm very pleased with the way this came out, and yeah.
And I know that this wall we have here are some very famous gentlemen, starting with probably the greatest of all time, somewhat
True.
debated, but
Right.
Michael Jordan.
Yes.
And how did you start, and how did you determine which Michael Jordan you were going to paint?
Yeah, Jordan was a tough one because there's so many great photos of him. I'm sure at one time he was probably one of the most photographed people in the world.
I'm sure.
And he's a great athlete. He's a good-looking guy. I just wanted to catch something where it was just him, and you got all you needed to know just by looking in his eyes.
Yep.
Like, he didn't have to have a face of determination or like, I just wanted something that really just said, yeah.
Well, and one of my favorite details is just the suggestion that he's in a jersey,
Yes.
the Bulls jersey, just down there, just that little bit, automatically, especially if you're from Illinois,
Yes.
that you recognize that immediately.
know what's going on.
And then another great hero, especially in the movies, is
Yes, Bruce Lee.
Bruce Lee.
Yeah. Again, another guy that I was young when he passed away, but I knew who he was when I heard that he passed away. I knew exactly who it was, and I couldn't believe it. And then as I was getting older and getting much more into him, his movies, his philosophy, that type of thing, I'm like, man, what a huge loss, what a life, what an individual, and it just. I felt like I had to do something. So.
And do you do any small sketches before you do? Because this is quite a large painting.
Yeah.
This is a good-sized painting.
I've been a renderer since before I could crawl. Since the time I could crawl, basically. And so, for me myself, drawing so many pictures of Spider-Man out of a comic book, exactly how it is, I don't really have to do that anymore because I know I can do it. That's the easy part, I guess, if you want to call it anything. So rendering is just, I just try to put in as much detail as I need and then let the do the walking.
Especially Jimi Hendrix here, I think the best thing is having the headband that we all think of when we think of Woodstock in particular.
Yes.
And that is iconic Hendrix.
If people are confused about who he is, when they notice that that's a headband around him, then it's like, oh, it's Jimi Hendrix. And some people aren't for sure, but this is actually the neck of his guitar sticking in the front. So.
And it's wonderful because it blends itself in, but yet you really are giving us some characteristic about whatever character you're painting.
Yes.
Here we have the only print, because this happens to be, I know, one of the most favorite paintings that you've done of our own Richard Pryor.
Yes,
and
sir.
so you had a Giclée print made of this one.
Yeah.
But how was it painting Pryor?
This one really was incredible, probably of anything that I've ever done, simply because there's a two-part side story to this. The first person that ever purchased anything to me walking up, seeing my stuff, was a guy that I had never met before. And he bought a Bruce Lee that I did prior to this one. And so he bought that one at an art fair, first art fair I was ever in. And then about 2 months later, he called me up and he said, out of the blue, and he said, how would you feel about doing a Richard Pryor for me? And I literally had my paintbrush in hand working on the original to this. And I said, I'm working on one now, actually. it seems kind of kismet. If you want it, it's yours. And he said, okay. And he walked in the house when it was done.
Sight unseen and took it.
Loved it. Absolutely.
And it is, how old was he at this time, do you think?
How old was Richard Pryor?
Uh-huh.
Oh, maybe 30?
That young?
Maybe.
Because all of his movies, he does make you laugh, but he's a little serious in this one.
He is.
Now, speaking of serious, we're going to the largest painting. Is this the largest painting you've ever done?
The largest painting I've ever done, yes, on canvas. Yes,
I know you've done murals and stuff.
Yes, sir.
But this is the largest.
Easily.
And this is Al Pacino at his best.
Yes, sir. There's no mistake. Another one of my favorites, and it wasn't one that was asked for by commission. I just started on it, and it probably came about as easy as anything I've ever done, because I wasn't feeling stressed by time or
and
anything.
It was meant to be.
And it was meant to be, and it just, it came together.
Well, I think the other thing that's really interesting in the colors that you have here, that if you put a black light on it, it makes certain colors pop out more, and it is really incredible. How do you determine, though, this background is really much different than most of the other backgrounds that we see in the gallery for this exhibition? I like the drips, I like all that, but then you go in through and you put these wonderful little bold rectangular shapes of color, and it just kind of, I don't know, it kind of balances it all out. How do you determine, and when do you determine that?
That came out on a whim at the end, way towards the end. I felt like the drips, not that they were too much, I just felt like something else was needed, and it's what showed up.
It works really, really well. And I
you.
love the fact that we have this, Jeff and I put this down here. We have the eyes up there, and we have his eyes, which do follow you throughout the gallery, wherever you're going. We have those that are famous and those that are destined to be famous. Because we happen to know Kelly's daughter, Katie,
awesome.
and a precocious, wonderful, darling child.
Most definitely.
This is a portrait you did of a friend's child.
of his daughter. She's probably 5 or 6 in this painting, and he and his wife chose this, and I asked them if they wouldn't mind it being in the show, and they graciously agreed. They still have not seen it just because of their schedules. They're busy people.
They better get out here.
Make it down
It
here.
is funny, though, when people come in, they are really trying to rack their minds about who could this be? Who could this be?
Nothing wrong with that. No.
But she is destined. We, her parents had a restaurant that we used to go to, and she would be playing there, and she is absolutely darling.
Yes, she's great.
Here, I was able to figure out who it was immediately just because of the gesture that is very notable.
Yes.
And this is our former president.
President Barack Obama. Yes, sir.
And when did you do this?
This one got finished sometime earlier this year. And it just was, there are those ones that you feel like that you have to do, you feel drawn to do, for lack of a better word. And it was, time for Barack to be painted. Probably won't be my last one.
And do you like to revisit certain people, certain
I
characters? Is it their notoriety? Is it their contributions to
I think it's
society?
all of it. Some are more infamous.
He's really a good guy, though, I think.
Exactly.
Goodfellas, maybe not.
Exactly. Some are, just sports heroes. I don't mean just, but they add to the culture something. And so, but at the same time, I do want to get around everyday people, everyday sceneries, architecture. I don't want to limit myself and just stretch myself out and see what more I can do. because with so many colors to work with, there's so many other avenues
Yeah.
I feel like haven't been explored yet,
Yeah.
at least for myself. So.
Well, and I know that you did a large mural at the Northwoods Mall.
Yes.
And it's all abstraction.
Yes.
It is nothing, there's no referential treatment
nothing.
of it at all.
Nothing.
And do you want to do more of that? Or do you like focusing on portraiture of people that...
Murals
can
are
be a
big
thing?
jobs.
Yes, they are.
To coin a phrase, murals are big jobs. And not that these aren't big, but they take a certain, time away from home, packing everything up, cleaning everything up. And sometimes a customer can get confused with what's going on, and so they want changes. And I don't really work with, okay, show me on paper what you're going to put
Yeah.
down. That's
Yeah.
not what I do.
Yeah.
And so anything changing from that kind of messes with it. I'm not against doing more murals, but we'll just see what happens.
It is. This is actually, I find, one of your loosest paintings. There's just these wonderful gestures which creates this wonderful head of hair, which makes this person most notable because it's Jim Morrison
Yes.
of the Doors with
Yes.
that rock and roll hair
Yes,
that
sir.
he had.
Yes, sir.
But it's also not quite as detailed. It's a little bit more abstracted, and there's a lot of more flat surfaces creating the face.
Yes. This is another individual that I've been trying to do, wanting to do, that I'll probably revisit again and do. One of those like no other. And I just thought with all the colors, the hippie aspect, the 60s, it kind of rendered itself to yes, paint me, do me. So let's see what we can have
It's
fun
really
with.
good. We didn't have him at singing during the opening. We
I know,
probably
I
should
know.
have. We probably
Yes,
should have.
yes.
But this exhibition is going to be up for another week. It'll close the 27th, I think it is, of August. Please come and visit. We're open daily, Monday through Friday, just till 4 on Mondays and Fridays, and till 6:30 Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And we'll also be open that Saturday from 9 till 2. So come
out our
enjoy.
website.
It's a joy to be with. It really is. Thank you so much, Andre.
Thank you for having
Yeah,
me.
Andre, thanks for brightening our gallery. It's been a beautiful month. It's been a beautiful month.
Appreciate
You can check out everything about the Peoria Art Guild at peoriaartguild.org. Thanks, Andre.
Thank
you.